started doing like destination weddings. And then that led to doing travel photography for National Geographic's catalog.
Here we go.
I think that you should always treat it like a business. And people don't need to know whether you're doing a shoot for free or not. They don't need to know how much you're getting paid or how busy you are. I think you should always put yourself out there as in the present tense. Like if you keep on saying like, I will, I'm going to, that's just like language of procrastinating. If you start talking in the present tense, like people, you forget that people hear you. Like if you meet somebody in the street and you say, I am a travel photographer, they're going to go to the next person and be like, oh my God, I met this cool travel photographer, blah, blah, blah. And that's the rhetoric they're going to use to describe you, So what you put out there is how other people are going to see and describe you. So it's really important to do it, to make it professional. I am a professional photographer. I am a destination photographer, whatever you want to be, always speak about yourself and put yourself out there in the present tense, not I want to, but I am, or I will, and just show work that illustrates that, like you have to start somewhere. And it's sort of like which comes first, the chicken before the egg. Like you need to have work to show in order to book work, similar work. So I learned really quickly when I first started my career that like, I hate the fake it till you make it, because you're not faking it, you're doing it, but you just aren't maybe letting people know that you're doing some stuff for free. So I started doing, free weddings for my sisters, or their friends, or I did it in exchange for travel, or I would just pay a bride and groom, like friends of mine that are already married and had a wedding dress and stuff, to like get dressed back up and like do bridal shoots for me in different locations, just to have the work. But I always treated it like a business, even when I hadn't started a business and hadn't even earned a dime yet. I put myself out there as if I were doing it full time. So what I realized is that you really have to look at all of your time, like the hour-long conversation you have with them as a consultation, the time you meet with them, the time you're driving to scout the location for lighting, all of your editing hours, all of your like all the things. Like we always price ourselves based on like the shoot day, or at least I did in the beginning. And I realized that I started just getting angry, that I felt like I was working 24/7 and like not getting paid for it. Right. And I think that's also a thing to educate your clients on. Like they think like, wow, why are wedding photographers so expensive? It's just one day. You're like, no, it's not just one day. It's like your engagement shoot and your this and your that and the editing. And so it's our fault for not educating people or like pricing ourselves accordingly. Cause it's like, you're pricing yourself too low if you are like resentful being there. You're like, oh, I'm not getting paid enough for this. Like, you know what I mean? So it's like, it's up to us to price ourselves accordingly. But that's why I don't do hourly rate packages, because then you can't really include your editing hourly rate. I just have a package price where I feel comfortable, and I'm building in like all of those hours that I've tracked on that wedding into that package. I was shooting 2, sometimes 3 weddings in a weekend. I was shooting all the time. I was making good money, but I literally was editing, shooting 24/7, like not sleeping. And I remember I was looking into like hiring an editor, and then that wasn't working out because my style is very specific. And I just was really overwhelmed. And I was also frustrated because I wasn't able to like get to the next echelon of what, like, I'm like, why can't I book these high-end weddings? Like, why am I stuck at this like 3,000 range? And I remember the best advice I ever got was, oh, Laura, and just from a coordinator, by the way, like, Laura, I would love to refer you to my clients, but you're priced too low. And I was like, what? Like, wouldn't that be just like a selling factor? And she's like, no. I can't throw you in the mix with like 3 other photographers that are charging 8,000 or whatever. And then you're 3. They're going to be like, does she suck? Like, is she not good? Like, why is it there? Like, what's the difference of that $5,000? She's like, I think your work's great, but like, unless you raise your prices, I can't actually put you in the mix with my other photographers. And like, that was super eye-opening for me, because it was just a perceived value, right? Like, I'm just as talented, but I was pricing myself too low. So her advice was, if you double your prices, I will start referring you. And I thought that was crazy. I was like, that's so crazy to me. But that's exactly what happened. And she's like, what's the worst you can do? I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm going to price out so many people like that can't afford me. And she's like, yeah, but like, let's say half the people can't pay for you if you double your prices. You're working half as much, but making the same amount of money. And so that was the best advice I ever got, was literally like doubling my prices in the beginning. And that was immediately started booking me like higher end weddings, and I started working with like different coordinators, and then I felt a lot more comfortable in the value of my time. So I realized that in the beginning, like I was super busy because I was cheap. I was pricing myself too low, but that's also a quality of life thing. Like, do I want to be editing 7 days a week and like shooting? Like it was just a lot. So sometimes being extra busy isn't the best. Like it's better to kind of price yourself a little higher and make more money and work a little less for your sanity. But that was the best advice I ever got from a coordinator. And it was scary. It was really scary to just one day double my prices, but it was about perceived value. I had friends that would call other photographers and pretend like they're a bride and groom just to get their pricing because I was curious. I wanted to know what other people were charging and what their packages were, and it was important for me to kind of just know what my peers were doing around me because I didn't know how to price things. I'm very open and transparent about having my pricing out there because that was another thing. I argued with photographers on this. They're like, "Oh my god, I can't believe you put pricing on your website. Like they're like, what if people don't call you?" I'm like, "Cool. Like the people who don't want to spend that much or don't have the budget then won't call me, and then we won't waste that hour on the phone talking or meeting with them when they can't afford me. Like, I'd rather just save everyone's time and have my prices out there." And I felt that way from the beginning, even when I wasn't charging as much. I just felt like I want people to know all the information before we meet, so we're not wasting each other's time. In the beginning, it's okay to charge less or even shoot things for free just to get the work and your portfolio up and all of that. But make sure you don't get stuck in that wheel of staying in that price range. Like set yourself a time limit. Like, okay, this year I'm going to do this many jobs so I can build my portfolio. And then next year I'm going to raise my prices and be competitive, reach out to different coordinators or whatever job you're doing. And be competitive with them because I just think that we do set our own value, and it's annoying. Like it is really annoying that somebody would think that I'm less talented because my prices are lower. But like unfortunately, that's like a lot of the time that's the way people think. I don't know why. So it's like it is a perceived value. But I will say this: you cannot get away with being a crappy photographer for very long. That's high priced. Because if someone hires you and then you do a bad job, you're not going to work with that coordinator again. You're not going to like get referrals. So you can only get away with that for so long. Like your value will remain if you are proving yourself. Like if you do a really good job, then that's when the value will like stay consistent. But like the initial value you have to set your own.